Well, it's 4:30 in the morning and the Raw Superstar shakeup has just happened. And a lot of new faces ended up being on the main red roster. So with this in mind, I'm Jules for WhatCulture.com, and this is the Raw Superstar shakeup, what went down. So first up, we opened up the show in a pretty nice way. We had Kurt Angle come down to the ring. He started saying, hey guys, welcome to Raw. We're going to basically be introducing a load of new people to the roster. And who should interrupt but everybody's favourite boy, the balloon animal made of muscles, Jinder Mahal, the US title holder, Jinder Mahal. And he basically had a list of demands. He said, I am coming over from SmackDown to Raw, but I want to have a few changes made. And Kurt Angle responded in pretty amazing fashion by saying you can send the email to idon'tfreakingcare.com. It was pretty hilarious, actually. And then followed up by saying, if you're going to be part of the Raw Superstar lineup, then you're going to defend your US Championship against Jeff Hardy. He came down to the ring and their match was actually pretty entertaining. It was a great way to start by getting the crowd invested, by having a huge pop for the returning Jeff Hardy, and also seeing Jinder Mahal toppled. Yes, that's right, we have a new US champion in Jeff Hardy. And I think this is the perfect move for him, because not only does it establish him straight away as being the fan favourite with the US title under his belt, but definitely sets up Jinder Mahal for a bit of revenge now. He's on Raw, he's without a title, but he's angry. And that can be some good storyline potential. And Jeff Hardy is now a Grand Slam champion. That's kind of a big deal. Then we moved on to Bayley versus Sasha Banks. And it wasn't exactly a match which set the house on fire. It was something that could have. The rivalry could be potentially one of the best things going at the moment. If you call back to their NXT matches, you know how good these two can work off each other, but here it felt quite stilted. There was a few botches, quite noticeably in one of the first couple of moves of the entire match, and it definitely sucked the pace out of the entire proceedings. So I can't say I was invested in this as much as I wanted to be, especially when the kind of point was hammered home that we weren't going to see a resolution to this conflict at all, because the Riot Squad arrived and beat the tar out of both of them. Fine, I guess, it's good to see them here, but at the same time, you're kind of hijacking a story which has the potential to be better than a 3-on-2. I mean, are we going to see Sasha Banks and Bayley have to put aside their differences again to team up to take down this new threat? If so, I don't really care. I'd rather see them finish off their feud and move into something else with other people. But still, for the 3 women that have joined the Riot Squad that have just come up, it's good for them, good exposure, just maybe not the direction for either group that I wanted to see. Still, a fine match outside of the botches. Hoo-wee! Now, the next one was an interesting one. If I say the words authors of pain, you probably think of very, very quick, quite brutal beatdowns. Squash matches are, or should be, their bread and butter. Yet going up against Heath Slater and Rhino, they didn't really get that. An interesting point to make was that Heath Slater got the most offense on the Authors of Pain than I've seen him get on any opponent so far, and it definitely highlights the thing that Vince McMahon has with bringing NXT superstars, tag teams especially, up from NXT to the main rosters. He likes to have them basically shown to not be on the same level as even the weaker Raw or SmackDown superstars, that they really have to work to get a victory. So at the beginning, Rhino and Heath Slater beat the absolute tar out of them. However, the Authors of Pain definitely got things under control and ended things fairly quickly once the momentum started to shift in their very weighty favour, but it was just sad not seeing Ellering down the ring with them. There's something maybe missing from this straight away. That being said, glad they won, makes perfect sense, and you know what, I wouldn't ever want to see them face Rhino and Heath Slater again, but I guess a victory is a victory, that's good. Just a bit confusing to make them seem slightly weaker than the momentum they had going into this show than they did from last week's episode. And next up was Miz TV, and the Miz was very happy with himself because he got to introduce 2 new members to the Raw lineup, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I know what you're thinking. You're saying to yourself, Jules, didn't they have a match last week and neither of them won the contract, so technically neither of them should be on Raw. And yes, you are correct, this is a point that Kurt Angle came down to the ring and made, saying, no, I gave you a chance and you fudged it up, you pair of cheeky whippets. But then they pulled out a nice printed out piece of paper that was an email from Stephanie McMahon saying that she has overturned his decision, and has said that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were now part of the Raw lineup. But then Kurt Angle responded with a typical emotional response by saying, fine, you two are on the show, but Miz, you're off to SmackDown. That's quite a big shock. I mean, The Miz has done very well on Raw, but maybe SmackDown is the right place for him, as he's very good at basically carrying people, bringing things together, creating excellent feuds. He is a fantastic heel, and now we have the potential of him going over there and kicking off the blood feud that needs to be, that we have all been waiting for, between him and Daniel Bryan. This was a pipe dream 5 months ago or more. Now this could definitely be a reality. And that's not to say that that was the only thing that happened in this segment, because then Kurt Angle said that the Miz and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were going to go up against a very large collective of men. They were going to be in the main event against Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and a mystery opponent who was going to have their debut on Raw. But more on that later. So then we moved on to a bit of tag team action in which the Revival went up against the Deleters of Worlds, which is Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. They had a nice little segment before, and I feel like this tag team definitely has legs. I feel like the craziness of Bray meeting the craziness of Matt actually works really well together. What doesn't, though, is their entrance at the moment. That was weird and a bit clunky, and I didn't really like that. However, in the ring, they proved their salt more. They're good at popping the crowd. They're good at getting things over. The Revival, unfortunately, it's sad to see them slipping down the card yet again, as they were eventually beaten by this new Deleter of Worlds team. Was it wonderful? It was more than okay. However, this now means that it's going to be Bray Wyatt, Broken Matt Hardy versus The Bar in Saudi Arabia for the vacated Raw Tag Team titles. Mickie James versus Ember Moon was up next, and Nia Jax was on commentary basically talking about the two competitors and how she wonders what it's going to be like with Ember Moon now on the roster, how things are going to sort of fit in. It was a good match. I really enjoyed this, actually. I feel that Mickie James still, even though she has not held a title in quite a long time, she still has the potential that she could be a champion. And I feel that that's very important, because when you're pairing somebody up against Ember Moon, you want to make sure that this up-and-comer has somebody who faces somebody who feels like a real challenge. Now, a lot of people would say that Mickie James has only ever been sort of Alexa Bliss's sidekick, but at the same time, she's very good in the ring. She definitely deals out a lot of punishment, and Ember Moon's character works very well off of receiving a lot and then just eking out a victory. And she obviously went over Mickie James, which is a great start for her on Raw, and puts her right in the contentious eyes now of Nia Jax. Now we have a segment that will divide a lot of people. Now, I like Dolph Ziggler as a worker. I think that he oversells quite a lot, but I do think that he puts in the hours and he's very entertaining to watch in the ring. I hate his intro. I hate that record scratch and the fact that it begins and then his music kicks in. As Adam Nicholas pointed out, you shouldn't start something with a record scratch. It doesn't make sense. That a record scratch is when you pull something off, not when you put something on. Whatever. He was in the ring, and he basically just started going around, just running his mouth as per usual. Titus Worldwide came down and basically offered him a job, saying that he should join them, that he's got the in-ring style and the comedy factor, which is what they're looking for. His response was Drew McIntyre. Okay, not what I expected, but it is fantastic to see the former NXT champion back in the ring again after a severe injury that he's now overcome. That was great. Why they've teamed him up with Ziggler, that's another matter. Not too keen on this pairing. However, I hope that Drew will realise that he has outgrown what Ziggler is and will promptly give him a Claymore kick to the face. So then Roman Reigns came down to the ring looking like a weird sort of cave-fed trailer trash, but with a very expensive watch. Dude, I don't know what he was doing there. He went down and basically was just saying about how Brock Lesnar, how he's going to basically fight him at the World's Greatest Royal Rumble, and it's going to be like blah, 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 blah. I'm going to beat him, blah, 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 blah. I got my rematch, and it's going to be in a steel cage, and blah, 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 blah. Problem is, saying that it's inside a steel cage doesn't address the fact that you got your head opened up by his vicious drive-by elbows. It wasn't the fact that it was outside of the ring that was the problem, it was the fact that he was in the ring and you couldn't escape the fact that he was beating the tar out of you. Regardless, Samoa Joe came down to the ring and pointed all of this out, basically saying like, you run your mouth and you cannot get this done. You cannot deliver when it counts. So in this scenario, Samoa Joe is Brock Lesnar's hype man. He's basically saying, Brock Lesnar's a beast. Brock Lesnar, you can't defeat him and you're going to fail. And I'm going to get the scraps afterwards. It's a weird feud. However, it is great to see Joe on form. He's a venomous snake and he's so good at what he does. So I kind of loved every minute of this and I cannot wait for their matchup. And now for me, the weakest part of the entire episode. Natalya has come over from SmackDown. That's an interesting one. Said probably 3 people. I don't know if there's any reason that she came over, but she did. She had a match. It was fine, but luckily the match ended up turning into one of the best segments of the show. So it was the worst and the best at the same time, because Ronda Rousey came down to the ring, she saved Natalya's ass, she whooped everyone in the ring, and she absolutely dominated Sonya Deville. Like, it was lovely to see the sweep leg takedown with such force and the punches right to the throat. Ronda Rousey has stepped up beyond all measure of a doubt. She stoked a fire in me within WrestleMania, and she's continuing to pour lovely pieces of tinder onto that. Maybe the pairing with Natalya, because of the fact they trained together and having her as a mentor, maybe that will do something for her in the long run. She's a safe pair of hands for Ronda to sort of learn from, get to grips with, and then save her every once in a while to prove how strong she is. So, worst match of the night, turning into a very good segment. Swings and roundabouts. Well now, did not expect this. The Bar versus the new additions to the Raw lineup, Breezeango. You know what? Love Breezeango. They are so silly, so over the top that I find myself laughing. I don't even care what they do in the ring. But I cared tonight though, because they scored a victory over the Bar. I did not see that coming. I know that there's like a sort of trend of this superstar shake-up, sort of making sure that the new people go over, but over the Bar? I mean, what are you doing to them? They lost to a 10-year-old child, and now they've lost to Breezango. Is the storyline going to be that they're going to be on a losing streak now, and that's going to force them to break up? It's just silly. Just very, very silly, but let's see how that goes, shall we? And finally, we had the main event, and the superstar who was joining the Raw roster was Bobby Roode. Okay, fair enough. I think that that's an interesting choice. It probably wasn't the most exciting one to have there. I feel like Drew McIntyre would have been better placed in his position, seeing as he's like the crowd is way behind him, and I feel like he would be a great person to add in as a proper surprise. Bobby Roode, happy to see him on Raw. He joined the likes of his amazingly well-toned team, and they did take it to the Miz TV and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Everyone got in their spots, and it was definitely just letting people just get their power moves over. Even Bobby Roode got the glorious DDT in, even though it didn't look too great. Sami Zayn didn't really sell it that well. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that The Miz, when in a desperate moment trying to tag out to either Curtis Axel or Bo Dallas, realized that they weren't there anymore. They looked at him and jumped off the apron. The Miz TV either turning face or completely disbanding, which is most likely the case, seeing as he's going to SmackDown, and leaving him to the big hands of Braun Strowman. Which went about as well as you could expect. So there we have it. We have The Miz leaving as the final image. The new superstar, Bobby Roode, standing alongside his big burly brethren on Raw, and The Miz TV not being a thing anymore. Which is kind of sad. I kind of really enjoyed how much of a bunch of pricks they were. But still, The Miz going to SmackDown hopefully will be a great thing. And there we have it. That's what went down on the Superstar Shakeup of Raw tonight. It is now 4:45. I need to get myself some sleep. As you can tell, I am H to the A-G-G-A-R-D, haggard. I've had too many giraffes, and now I need some sleep. But thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And as always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. It might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.